Hello YouTube! We are on the real programming channel about HTML and CSS. My name is Andrei. This is a lesson for beginners. This is our 81 lesson. I greet you, welcome, and we'll talk about test drive the blog page. Let's go! With the creation of a new blog page and those quick tweaks to the page, that is adding the section and article elements. Let's save the page and load in the page and in the browser. As you can see, elements like section and article and aside have a similar default style to div that is not much, but they do add information about the meaning of the content in your page. What's the difference between a section and an article? Yes, it can be confusing. Well, tell you right up front that there is no crystal clear answer to this. In fact, there are many ways to use article and section, but here is a general way to think about them. Use section to group together related content and use article to enclose a self-contained piece of content like a news article, a blog post or a short report. In the Starbucks page, each column contains related content. So we have treated each column as a section of the page. We have also taken the individual blog post and made those articles because they are self-contained. You could even imagine taking one and reposting it on another site or blog. Your mileage may vary, but in general stick to grouping related content together with section and for self-contained content. Use article, and if you need to group content together that doesn't feel as related, you always have div to fall back on. We still need to add a date to the blog. Did you notice in your blog design that we added a date to every blog post? Before HTML5 dates were created in a blog ad hoc way. You might have just added the date without marking it up at all, or used a span or even a p to mark it up. But now we have an element that's perfect for the job, the time element. Add 2-minute grid to the time element exercise. Let's take a closer look at the time element. It has an important attribute that the time and the elements kind of pick about values you use in this attribute. So it's worth going over some of details. The time attribute is required of the content of the element. Isn't written using the official internet date time format. If you're using the datetime attribute to specify a date and or time, then you can write whatever you want as a content for the element. Most often that will be some date or time related text like February 18, 2012 or even yesterday or now. This is official internet format. For specifying this with a day, month and year. You can specify just year and month or even year just. Here are some other ways to express dates, times using the official format. You can add on a time in a 24 format hour. You can specify just time. If you use a z after and the date and time, then it means UTS time. UTS is equal GMT, time for Greenwich, and adding the time element to your blog. Adding your blog HTML file and add the following dates below each article heading. So, below each headings, we added a time element. The content of the time element is the date of the blog post, written American style with the format first. You could also write March 10, 1220 if you want. like this. We are using the datetime attribute of the time element to specify the precise dates using the official internet datetime format for dates. And test drive the blog. Test drive the blog again, and you should see the date of the blog post show up underneath each blog post heading. Now we have a date below each blog posting. It seems like semantically each article has its own little header with a heading and date. I assume we could even add things like a bylink with the author's name and location. Is that the right way to be use an article? It sure is. Again, think of an article as a self-contained piece of content, something you could even take out and syndicate another web page somewhere. And if you didn't that, you definitely want to add something like bylink, byline with who wrote it, when, and maybe where. We can take this even further because the header element isn't meant just for your main header. You can use it whenever you want to group together items into a header. For instance, you can add the header element to an article, a section, to even an aside. To see how this works, let's go back and add some more header elements to the Starbuzz articles. Note that the footer can be used within section articles and sites as well. We are not going to do that on Starbuzz, but many sites do create headers and footers for these elements. How to add more header elements? Adding header elements is straightforward. Within each article element, we'll place a header to contain the heading and time. To do that, find the article elements within the blog section and add an opening and closing header tag to each one. Place your header element here around there, and I will show you code. Heading and the time element. Make sure you add the header to each article in the blog section. Brain power. Feel free to add an outer byline to the header as well. There isn't an outer element. Any idea how you might mark up on outer byline? Testing the header. Go ahead and add the header elements to the Starbuzz blog and give it a test run. Did you notice when you loaded the page that the headers of the articles don't look right? The formatting is all off now. Sharpen your pencil and the sheet of paper exercise. Now that we've added the header elements, the spacing and formatting is off. Did you notice we got way too much space below the article heading and below the date, and the background color is all wrong? Any idea why? Write your ideas about why this might be happening below. Hint: take a look at your CSS and see if there are any other header rules that might be affecting the new article headers you just added. And so, what's wrong with the header away? Clearly we're messing up the formatting, and by adding the header elements. Why? Let's take another look at the Starbuzz CSS file and check out the rule for the header element. And this header rule height property causes the background color to be set and space to be added to all headers in the page, but not just the main header. And the margin isn't helping either. And The rule for styling. The header works great for the main header, but looks terrible for the headers in the articles. We can fix this by creating a class just for the header at the top of the page. We might have several header elements in a section and articles throughout the site, and in our case for Starbucks Coffee, the header at the top of the page will always be treated differently from these other headers because it has a special graphical look. So first find the top header element in your blog HTML file and add a class name top to the element. Add the class tab to the first header element in the page. Add the tab class to the tab header in your index.html file too. Once you added the tab class in the both blog.html and index.html files, then all you have to do is update your CSS to use the class and the selector and the rules for the header. We added the .tab to class selector to the header rule in the CSS. We added it to this rule too while we don't need too far for the selector to work correctly. It does make it more clear in the CSS exactly with header slogan we're selecting just a little best practice work. And the final test drive for the headers. We'll talk about this in the next lesson, and on this our 81 lesson are over. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel. Please put likes, share with friends, comment, eat bananas, eat fruit, read more books on this topic, and be sure to study regularly, preferably in the evening after you have done all the work. Drink water for the brains. Fine, thanks, bye.